Have I talked about Steven Spielberg before? Yes, sometimes. Mostly in my random top 10 videos that I do. But I decided to go ahead and make a video dedicated to Steven Spielberg and his amazing filmography. So, how many great movies has he done? I don't know. That's just he's probably done like, I don't know, more movies than the amount of money that I have. Eventually, Steven Spielberg is my favorite director of all time still. And I feel like I just have to talk about him. There haven't been many films I've seen that he could offer, but I've still seen a good chunk of movies from him. Today I'm going to go ahead and share my top 10 favorites of some of the best movies that Spielberg gave us. These are my favorite Steven Spielberg directed movies. I'm only going to be including movies that he directed. I'm not going to be talking about any co-produced or anything like that. And I'm not going to be talking about the company Amblin Entertainment, the company he used for his movies. No, we're not just going to be talking about movies that come from that company. These are movies that were directed by Steven Spielberg and give him the name he always deserved and prove how great of a director he really is. Let's look.
Well, that should be a good way to start. The Terminal, a movie that is directed by my favorite director of all time and stars my favorite actor of all time, Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks has always been giving me charm every movie he appeared in. So, what kind of charm could he offer us for The Terminal? Well, first things first, what is it about? The Terminal tells a story about a guy from, I forgot what country he's in, but he is stuck in an American terminal, which is, the airport places that a little area that's kind of like a shopping mall in an airport. Oh, he's stuck in that airport, but makes the most of how much time he has to spend in it, as his country is unable to be visited because of a serious issue going on. Now, the reason I love this movie is for many reasons. One, it shows off some of the best things you can find at a terminal. Fast food joints, little shops, and all that kind of stuff. Because I have been in situations where I'm going to have to be stuck in a terminal for a while. But I can still have fun no matter what. I don't know, or have you been to the terminals in Orlando? That one's awesome. Anyway, but really what makes this movie great is the performance that Tom Hanks gives. He plays a different country guy, which means he has to actually portray someone from a different country. So he pretty much just actually uses not his own voice. He creates a voice to go along with the person. And it's just dedication to that right there. He has to actually create a new voice for the type of culture his character is from. And that's just what makes Tom Hanks a great actor. He can pull off any voice, any role, and it still sounds just as serious enough. Hence, The Terminal is one of the best examples of casting Tom Hanks for any role ever could still work. So, yep, I do love me some Terminal, and I sure do like seeing all the stuff Tom Hanks has to bring us with films like this. But this has been we're talking about Steven Spielberg right here, so really the point is, Tom Hanks, Steven Spielberg, best duo ever. Minority Report, a fun action movie from 2002. I had to put this on the list of movies turning 20 this year, but man, why didn't I? This wasn't ranked there, now it is. Regardless, Minority Report is Tom Cruise in an action movie. It's like the Mission Impossible stuff. And while I have said I'm not really into watching Mission Impossible movies, I said that because I'm already for James Bond, that's already a big spy stuff. I feel like Mission Impossible spy stuff's too much I can have to tolerate from every other stuff I'm already in. But I might as well watch Minority Report and see what Tom Cruise has to offer for this one. Not a bad role, I'm not gonna lie. He doesn't do too bad. I wouldn't say he does great. That's kind of a problem I have with most of his modern roles. But he still does a fine job pulling off the role. Being a guy who goes through different certain events through his time through a crazy futuristic crap. It's hard to explain, but this movie was pretty epic. And it definitely does prove how epic an action movie can be, despite not having the most epic stars in it. Okay, Die Hard proved that, but this one is another good example. So, if you like Tom Cruise, I recommend it. If you like Steven Spielberg, I recommend it. If you like action movies, I recommend it. Those are the 3 recommendations you need to have. West Side... Oh, hold on, I gotta sneeze. Happens. Anyway, one of the more recent Steven Spielberg movies, West Side Story, is a fun retelling of the famous musical from the 50s. Most people want to compare this to the other West Side Story movie that came out from the 60s. Me personally, you gotta compare it to what it's based on, the play. People keep talking about how it compares to the original movie. It doesn't matter. Okay, they did have Rita Moreno in it, who played a big role in the original, and is next for a little appearance in this one. But besides that, they're obviously not trying to focus on that movie too much. They're just trying to focus on how the original play was. And honestly, in my opinion, they focus on it really great. I can't say I like this better than I like the original West Side Story, because the original West Side Story was pretty great also. But I can say this one does still bring a nice little good use of old classical music into the modern day world, putting us into a nice fun little retelling with a bunch of great dance sequences, music sequences, romance, and all that in between. So, in all the honesties, I think West Side Story definitely does prove how great choreography can be, and how someone like Steven Spielberg is able to pull something like that off. Close Encounters of the Third Kind. This was the Steven Spielberg Star Wars, honestly. It did not just because it came out in 1977, the same year, because it's space related. It has aliens, it has all that. This came out at the time when Star Wars was being a shocker box office hit, as it never really got caught on to people, only to find it became an ultimate hit and was now regarded as my favorite movie of all time. But here we have Close Encounters, which, despite not still being inferior, is still a pretty great movie. It tells the story of aliens who kidnap certain kids or adults or whatever in this planet and take them on their ship. The rest, well, we let Steven Spielberg bring us in with all the rest. Because all the rest can be hard to think about. But when you got stuff like this, I think Close Encounters of the Third Kind is still a great, enjoyable experience. Even if you find it to not be as epic as Star Wars, it's still epic enough to be considered a great movie. Not all space movies have to compare to Star Wars. You just gotta know what a space movie is. You gotta actually be realistic, or, I don't know, if you don't want to be realistic, be reasonable. Make sense. And that's what movies like this can do. So, I will give Spielberg the credit. He does make some pretty good space movies. I wonder what his version of Star Wars would look like. Now, speaking of space movies, here we have E.T., the Extraterrestrial. The movie about the extraordinary adventures of an alien who visits home. Did I say home? Our home. Befriends a boy as they go on extraordinary adventures together. E.T. is amazing in every way possible. It is still my favorite movie of the year it came out. It is probably could be better if I wanted to say it's comparable to Star Wars, because it did beat Star Wars at the box office. But regardless, E.T. is always amazing, as it always just is able to bring us in a great little home. We're able to understand how many humans or aliens or whatever can be acceptable as friends, and how much you can find from it, the many people you go with. E.T. explores some of the finest mysteries and adventures you can find, and being one of the greatest family movies you could ever watch. Catch Me If You Can. Another movie with Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg in the best duo ever. While this movie mainly stars Leonardo DiCaprio, that's still not a bad matchup. If anything, that's pretty cool. You got Steven Spielberg, which is an awesome director. You got Tom Hanks and Leonardo DiCaprio. Two are some pretty great Oscar-winning actors, as they both shine in this movie of the story about a kid who does as many jobs as he can without any license at all, but doesn't get caught because, he has to get caught first. Literally. And that's why that hints the title. I'm sort of shocked by how great this movie turned out to be. I thought I was just going to sit through it, like a random, fast-paced type of thing, like most biography movies could be. But I'm shocked to find that I really love this movie because of how much can happen in this situation of time. So, yeah, I love this movie. It can bring Tom Hanks and Leonardo DiCaprio together in a great little room, and having Spielberg direct it all makes it worthwhile to watch. Ready Player One. Ready Player One is a movie that may have not caught on to many people when it first released. People just, I guess, just weren't in the mood for this film. They just didn't have that type of idea in their mind. Well, in my opinion, personally, I actually find this one to be one of my favorites ever. It states out as many good pop culture references as there is. The references you could find from either Amblin Entertainment or from Warner Bros. Themselves. And the amount that are in this movie can be shown. They all just like to keep throwing them at you. And ways I love it is how much you can understand, what you can follow, what you can't follow. I think this virtual reality type of movie is pretty incredible to watch because you can experience a good amount of ideas with the crossovers or these storylines that you're given. So yeah, even though it didn't catch on to many other people, me personally, I can't help it. It's not. I just keep loving this movie too much. I might have an issue for it, but I love it. Raiders of the Lost Ark. The beginning of an Indiana Jones franchise that I personally don't like. The first movie in the franchise, which I don't like, is a great movie that I love. And I'd like to just consider standalone. This standalone movie, please don't be mad at me, I just seem to have those kind of problems, gives our favorite character, Indiana Jones, and puts him in an adventure where he has to hopefully get to home for the Lost Ark. While in the end, his next focus is trying to avoid being killed by Nazis or any other sort of country stereotypical people that are after him. Or worse, snakes. So, this movie definitely did go all out. And it makes it for a very amazing Steven Spielberg masterpiece. Spielberg definitely knew he had to do this movie. And it's not just Spielberg that worked on this movie that did amazing with it. The film also was written by George Lucas. We all know Lucas for Star Wars stuff. Having the Star Wars and the Spielberg brought into the one movie can definitely make a lot of people like myself happy. I can always love Raiders of the Lost Ark for what it gave us, and can live on to love all the adventure this one movie has to offer and still have problems with the sequels. I am very sorry. Jaws. The story about a shark who visits a beach and kills all. How can you not love it? Jaws is amazing at perfectly giving us just the sheer amount of terror and excitement that a shark normally wouldn't give us in a movie like this, but did. I think Jaws is still to this day the best and only great shark movie out there. And even though it probably isn't Jaws' fault, people just don't seem to know many other good ways for shark movies. This movie still is amazing, and I could have put it at number one. There's one movie I like better. Regardless, I love Jaws still, and it's perfectly reasonable to have it at number two. You're terrified of the shark. You're excited with the adventure, and you're always waiting to see what more comes next. But then you have Jurassic Park, which is the story of an amazing adventure that features the amount of insane dinosaurs that come across the area. The CGI, the adventure, all the madness this movie throws at us. This makes for my favorite Steven Spielberg movie of all time. I may still need to see more, but I love Jurassic Park. And even if I see more, I could still consider Jurassic Park my favorite of the bunch, just because of how extraordinary it is, and how groundbreaking it was for the time. I can never get enough of Jurassic Park's amazingness. I don't think anybody could ever do. And I can't wait to see what this new Dominion movie has to offer. Because even though the past other Jurassic Park sequels have not been as good as this one is, I'm still hoping to see something good come out of it. Well, let's all hope so. And just continue to live on with this movie being amazing in every way possible. Whoops.
I rushed on those last two, 3 or whatever, because you've heard me talk about them enough times, haven't you? I know you have. Anyway, so those are my favorites of Spielberg. Any other characters or actors or whatever you want me to share my love for, just let me know. No? Okay, I know you didn't say anything, but I don't really want to do this anymore. We're done. Goodbye.